There we go, recording now, jolly good. So with Unroll.me, the best thing to do when you're going through subscriptions, I found, first of all, when you go to Unroll.me is, this is the way I go about it. Maybe you're going to do something a bit different than me, but I just like to roll every single subscription into the digest that I come across. Because I find that if you try and go each of them one by one, it just takes forever because we just have so many of these people subscribing us to mailing lists. And so what I just do is I just roll every single thing up. And then after that, once I start receiving these digests, so for example, I've got 4 new emails subscriptions. So I just do is just click on the add to roll up, just keep clicking. See, there we go, done. Took me a second. This is something you could also potentially give to a virtual assistant to do for you as well, if you're a bit lazy like me. Sorry, yeah. So that's what I suggest doing, first of all, is just putting everything in that digest. And then once you start receiving those digests, then you can actually go through them, one at a time, scan those headlines and just figure out, okay, actually, does some of this stuff belong in my inbox as opposed to being in this digest? And so I apologize about my computer. It's being a little bit slow today. I don't know what's going on. Actually, I can get rid of this. Maybe that will free up some memory resources. So that's one thing. The other thing is, so for example here, let's say, so if I go through this, I'll identify if there are any emails that actually I prefer to have in my inbox because I'd like to see them as they arrive, or I'd like them to be a little bit more visible. In actual fact, looking at this, and this is usually the case, there's nothing here that really should be in my inbox. But I'm just going to pretend, I'm just going to take one example here. Let's say America Josh, he's an Australian chap who gives a really good email digest about useful tips for expats in New York. It's mainly focused on Australians, but it's kind of applicable for all expats. Quite a nice little niche he's got going there. But as you can see, I can remove that from the roll up and that will just go straight to my inbox instead if I wanted to do that. Now there's this unsubscribe button. I suggest you do not use this. If you want to unsubscribe from an email list, use the unsubscribe button in the native one in the email itself. And the reason for doing that is Unroll.me has a little kind of funky way of dealing with unsubscriptions from their platform, because what it will do is it will just as soon as you receive those emails, it will just shunt them to your spam or delete or delete bucket. And so they'll kind of bypass your inbox, and you don't really want that to happen as a default. And the reason for that is because sometimes you unsubscribe from a mailing list and you want to subscribe again, and there you run into complications. Or maybe, say, for example, people use their personal email addresses as, when they're sending their mailing, stuff to their mailing list. And maybe you want to receive emails from that person, but you just don't want their email list anymore. So that's why I suggest instead of using this unsubscribe button, you use the native one there. So those are just 2 caveats that are worth being aware of. So that's Unroll.me, just that additional thing there. I mentioned Streak. So this was a tool that it's basically like an add-on to your Gmail, which allows you to track emails. There are a couple of different tools that do this. HubSpot does it, but I actually find the Streak one works better. It tends to be more accurate when people are actually seeing your emails. HubSpot has too many false positives. But essentially, Streak is like a mini CRM within your inbox. I showed it to you last time. So I'm not going to go over that again, but what I would like to just show you again is just the templates and how handy these templates are. I believe it has one of the better, obviously you have canned responses that you can use within Gmail, but the Streak plugin allows you to do things like assign little kind of text strings that you can type, and then it will just auto-populate it will allow you to auto-populate the email itself. And so I'm just gonna, So if I just give an example, now I've got a lot of plugins here. So actually the streak ones are a little bit hidden. They're secret squirreling down here. But if I click on, I think it's there we go. But you can see I have all these templates set up. These are, they call them snippets, essentially. And there is one I set up actually recently. So say, for example, I have a monthly meeting with a financial advisor with my wife. And usually they have a sort of a financial platform, but we need to provide them with the updated balances. And it's the same thing that I have to do. Actually, this is every quarter. We have a quarterly meeting. But I've just got this template. I just type that and boom, there we go. It's already, it's all here. So, and I just need to go in and update those balances and add those there. But that just saves me having to type out that email every quarter. And obviously you can set up other templates as well. Yeah, that's snippets or templates in Streak. Really, really handy. And then as you can see, I've also assigned, computer is just so slow. I don't know, there are gremlins in my computer today. I apologize about that. But you can see I've assigned keyboard shortcuts for these. So for example, the VA response. If I just type the same thing that's, so if you, I don't know if you saw that, but I typed VA, oh, what was it? Dash VA1. And there we go. It just auto-populated for me. Fantastic. So that just really saves time. Cool. So that's unroll.me. I'm conscientious of the time, and we were going to leave a little bit of time for feedback at the end. So prepare your feedback questions, and I'll keep an eye on the chat. So that's Streak. That's great. It also does mail merge for you. Yet another mail merge. This one here. This is also a fantastic mail merge tool. What a mail merge is it just basically lets you bulk email a list, but personalize it. So you're able to add variables like first name. So you'd be like, hey, Roz, hey, Molly, hey, Rajita. And then you can have your templated message. So it's just a handy way if you need to send personal messages, you know, messages that need to be personalized, but you're sending the same message to a lot of people. The neat thing about yet another mail merge, and I won't have time to go fully into it, but it allows you to do follow-up campaigns as well to the same people. And it basically tracks who has replied to your message or not. So if people don't reply, you can send a second personalized campaign to that same list, but just the people who haven't replied. How amazing is that? So that is a really, really neat feature about that one. I'm gonna just skip over a couple of these. This is a fantastic one, Rebound.cc. So this is a page tool. It costs about $5 a month. But what it basically does is it basically adds a little checkbox to your email compose interface. And actually, I have it enabled on a different email. But essentially, once you just check that checkbox as you're sending mail, which you'll see on my other mailbox as I pull that up. What it will do is it will just create a follow-up sequence of emails that will just basically constantly follow up with people until they reply, which is really, really handy. Yeah, it's
well, that's one word for it.
you might think, oh, you know, that's a bit annoying, etc. I hate it when people follow up.
The word I was thinking of.
Yeah. To be honest, it is annoying for some people, but most people are just busy people, and a lot of people appreciate the follow-ups and want people to. So, say for example, Michael Shine, I'm following up on an invoice I have for him, and again, I just didn't get replies, and that could have caused a lot of frustration for me just thinking about it, lying awake at night. But instead, I had my bumped emails, and after the first bump, he got back to me. So this is the sort of, and you can set up these sequences yourself, so you can customize them, etc. You know, and the last one, this is the magic email.
I was gonna say, whoosh.
This is a magic email
that gets your guilt going.
Yeah, that's right. You can find this at themagicemail.com. But this is a handy follow-up that just often elicits a response, because it just creates an open for people.
Yeah,
and it's quite effective.
Those of us with big guilt triggers.
That's right. Cool. So I'm aware I've just got 1 minute left. There's a whole bunch of other resources and things I've sent here. I did notice that people said that they use MailChimp over most other, well, there were 3 people who said they use MailChimp. I'm curious, like what were the other tools that, if you can pop them in the chat, and I'll actually have it open this time. So let's take a look. If people could just, and actually we're at 5:02, so if anyone wants to just actually ask any questions about what I've covered, or has any questions over email, I'm happy to talk about that. I notice 1 or 2 people have to drop off, which is totally fine. And I'll just stop sharing my screen there so I can see everybody. Or I could just carry on. So I'm looking at who's, so we've got Maricela, we've got Sam, Alyssa. So I'll just see if I've got, what comments we've got there from you guys. Otherwise, we just carry on. Everyone raise their hand if they just want me to carry on. Okay, that looks pretty unanimous to me then. I'll share my screen again, and I'll just run up to the hour. Now, obviously, you know, Roz has put the links to the feedback. Really appreciate that. Obviously optional, but you know, it's very handy, and I'll try and inform that. I think, you know, the pace of, I've tried to obviously slow it down. Well, I've been forced to slow it down. My computer is obviously trying to tell me something. Slow down. Something I find helpful for thinking about, in actual fact, I think this is particularly relevant at the moment, but I think introductions are really important, because how do we meet new people? Or, you know, and I find there are lots of these interesting platforms where you can, they try and match people in interests and stuff like that. But I don't know, they don't work so well for me, at least. But something I think is great is when a friend introduces you to someone because you have a common passion over, I don't know, the dominant memory system or something, I don't know, something like that. But this is where I think double opt-in intros come in really handy, because double opt-in intros, for those who haven't come across the concept before, but it's the idea of asking people for permission first before making that intro. And so I think this is really critical. And this is one of those templates that you can set up in your email. In fact, I'm pretty sure I must have this set up. This is just a helpful article about it. There are a bunch of them. You can just Google, you know, double opt-in intro examples or guide, etc. But I'm pretty sure I have a, oh, this actually might be in canned responsive. Yeah, oh, yeah. You can see at the top, you see? Double intro, yeah. So this is actually the second email I sent. First, I sent an individual email to each party and say, oh, hey, would you be interested in meeting, you know, in me introducing you to such and such? They do blah, blah, blah. And then this is the second email that just, you know, so I'll say, hey, Roz, meet Sam. Sam is a cool dude you need to meet. And then I'll say, hey, Sam, meet Roz, who's a cool dudette, who also plays a lot of ultimate frisbee or something, also has a passion for ultimate frisbee. So this is just a way of making high quality introductions that I think people usually really appreciate. So that's just one thing I thought was handy. I mentioned the magic email. It's linked to here as well. Kai Davis has some really excellent material on outreach. He has a daily, like a near daily email newsletter, and just the archives and the stuff, the content he has around outreach and how to do it, and road mapping and how to survive as a freelancer. He has some really excellent stuff. awesome one of the best freelance consulting / freelance proposal templates. It's really good. Stoop, this is a way of signing up for email lists, but instead of it going to your email box, you have this dedicated email address that has an app. So you can basically just check the emails on the app as opposed to it clustering up your email inbox. Very cool. Quit the news feed, embrace the newsletter. Like a podcast app, but for newsletters. So it's just like kind of a strolling feed of your email newsletters. And with that said, I believe we're at the top of the hour. So I think we can call it a day.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Cool.
Thanks.
You, Jonathan. Always
Awesome.
fun.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for tuning in today. And like I said before, got the feedback links. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Slack. But other than that, just have a great day and speak soon.
Thank you. Ross, I have one question. So I asked to be a lead tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if there is like a notification that is gonna get